Welcome to Video Secrets video number one. We're going to be talking about video interviews. Now, because of COVID, video interviews have become the way to hire employees. And now that hopefully COVID is more behind us, there's probably going to be more of a hybrid interview process that we need to talk about. When you are first contacted from a potential employer, in the past, it was a phone call. Hi, we'd like to interview you. We'd like to talk to you over the phone, ask you a few questions, make sure that you're the right fit before we have a face to face. Now, a lot of Fortune 500 companies, instead of sending a request to have a phone call, they're sending a request to have a automated video interview portal that you would go to. It will say, do you have a video camera, audio? Yes. Okay. Now we want to ask you some questions. They will ask 2 to 3 questions. They will record your answers, and then a AI will turn on that in the background to make sure that you are answering the questions that the manager who is hiring is looking for particular answers. And this is kind of the same things that software does to look at your resume to make sure that you have the abilities and things that the hiring manager is looking for. You've got to make sure that you understand the job description, and we'll talk more about that later in another video. But to prepare for this, it's just like an interview, and again, we'll talk more about that. So I'll give you some tips and some ways to prepare. But just know that the AI is counting how many ums and ands you have. It's counting, it's trying to figure out if you're answering the questions truthfully with voice stress analysis and tracking your eyes. I don't necessarily believe that those are accurate, but it can give we believe that the person is telling the truth, or we believe the person may be lying here, kind of a yes, no, gray area kind of answer. So be cognizant of that, because you've got to get past the AI now on these interviews. Think about it as a hiring manager. Instead of picking up the phone and calling 10 people, I can send a email to potential employees, and instead of just calling 10 people, I can send 20 potential employees, say, hey, we would like to talk to you, and here's a link to a video interview, kind of a pre-conversation, and the AI will rank all those 25 based upon the inputs that I give it. So you need to be aware of how this works. The second way that we're going to interview people is through, like, we're going to do it in class through Teams or Skype or FaceTime or whatever else. And that's usually going to be the second interview. And I'm going to give you ways to handle yourself in that. But let's just talk about 3 basic things that you need to do for a video interview. And we're going to talk about how to prepare for your interview in the next videos. But just to make sure you cover these 3 basic things, let's talk about it. The first is lighting. And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive. Well, yeah, of course you're going to have good lighting. But I'm going to show you the difference. Now, I've got 2 lamps on either side of my desk, and I'm going to turn those on and turn them towards me. And you see, now you can see my face much better. I want you to do what I'm telling you to do here. You need to make sure that your face is well lit. I'm amazed at how many times that I talk to students and they have one light here and half their face is dark and the other half of their face is light. Now, there have been a lot of research done on lighting, and I'm telling you right now, light your face up so the whole face is lit up, all right? The easiest way to do that is to face a window during the day. So you want to turn your table around or whatever so the window is in front of you, and you don't want it to be harsh light. So we're going to have, some drapes in the way, but you definitely want that natural light. And if you don't have that, then turn on lights on either side of your monitor of your video camera, and make sure that you've got good light. Because, and I'll turn these off because I don't have to be, do as I say, not as I do. Now you see the difference between good lighting and bad. And trust me, you want to put everything you can out there to have the best interviews that you can. Avoid having a light behind you like I do. This is bad. I have a light behind me, and it's bad. You want to have that light in front of you. Now, let's talk about camera angle. A lot of my students flip open their laptop, put it on a desk. I'm looking up their nose, basically. You don't want to do that in an important interview. What you want to do is invest in a wireless keyboard and mouse, and grab some books and put your laptop on top of those books so the camera, the little hole on top of the bezel of the display, is looking at your eyes or slightly above. And if you've got to lift your chin up, that's slimming, so that's a good thing to do. I don't want to look up your nose or look right into your mouth. Make sure that the camera is at eye level or slightly above. Again, a small difference, but trust me, I don't know how many interviews I've had to look up people's noses. I don't want you to do that, so don't do that anymore. The next thing, and probably the most important, is your background. Now, do as I say, not as I do. This is not the background that you want in an interview. If I was going to have an interview, I would clear all this stuff off. All you would see is a computer behind there and maybe some very well situated binders, but not the general chaos of my office. I would highly recommend that you just have a blank wall behind you if you can. If you can't, then put a white sheet behind you. I've had questions, should I go out and buy a white sheet? Yes. Depending on how your room looks, you probably should. If you can't do any of that stuff, most people have interviews in their bedroom. That's okay. The problem with that is that most people don't make their bed. They don't clean the crap off the floor. I have literally had high-level interviews and seen people's underwear on the floor because they just don't think about it. So clean up the stuff behind you to make sure that that doesn't happen. Lock the door. Tell people that you're an interview, and if they knock on the door or bother you, you will kill them. Turn off your cell phone. All the things that just make sense that people forget to do. But the stuff behind you tells me how well organized you are. Okay, I'm not that organized. I try. It also tells me if you're a slob. Okay, that's really bad. And it tells me a lot about you. So don't put the wrong foot forward. It's just easier to put a sheet up, a white sheet, gray or whatever sheet, or have a blank wall behind you. All right, so we've covered a lot of things in this video. We've covered that your first contact in interview is probably going to be an AI, and it's going to be, hey, answer these questions. That's stressful, but I'm going to tell you how to get over that in the other videos. We've also talked about the 3 things that you need to make sure you take care of: lighting, camera angle, and what's behind you. All right, that's the end of this video. You got a few more, so don't forget to take your test. That's underneath this video. Till next time.